Know where the toilets are. Oh, what do you want to happen? Low, because I like just not low. Oh, okay. It's one. Oh. All right, welcome everyone, and welcome to this very brave souls. COVID-19 come. So anyway, you know this artist development program that we wanted organize much earlier, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, postponed it. But it comes to a point where, but then I feel like we think we can push anymore. Because if we do, then it's going to go to next year. Post Chinese New Year and things like that. So it's going to be. So I thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here in the studio, and also Joey. We apologize for all these delays. I just want to share with you our vision for this meeting. We have always wanted to do something like this. And then, in fact, we used to think about maybe something like a young artist. But then once we say young artist, we feel that maybe because for you, I think learning is a lifelong process. I mean, regardless of where you are, it's always able to learn. And so I think it's very nice to see. I mean, this group of all of you comes from kind of different levels in terms of your journey or your career. So it's a very good mix, and so I hope that with Bernard you'll be able to really learn something and you'll be able to kind of like polish or enhance your skills. Yeah. I don't waste much time, but the thing is today I'm going to try to finish by 9:30 or even earlier. Yeah. So that you all can get home as soon as possible. So make yourself comfortable. You need anything, student and stuff here. Okay. Then the sequence of the program, I think, we shared. Okay. So that's what I want to say. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good session. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Are you guys okay? I'm not ask. I'll be here. Just so that it's easier for you to see what I'm talking about. Cool. So just a little bit overview of what we are trying to do in all these group sessions, especially in these where we look at where we focus on a particular genre of music. We're trying to look through this genre for today's German lieder in terms of its development and in terms of its style. And in this session it will be quite fast, okay? Because we have so many of us, and we'll have this flow pretty fast. So don't expect it to be kind of like half an hour or an hour masterclass kind of thing where we go through bits and pieces. But we're trying to give everyone sort of an overview, which is quite nice for today for your repertoire, because we start Schubert, and then we have from Brahms, Schumann, we have Mahler, Strauss. So quite a nice overview. And then at the end, I'll tell you what other composers you can try and listen to in terms of leader. Okay. So leader is one of the most important genres in vocal music, or indeed in Western classical music. How does song come about? You know, song is special because it has texts, right? A piano music, a symphony does not have text. Everything is based on the music and what is, the kind of harmonic structure, the kind of tonal languages that the composers have. But songs are different. It has text as foundation. So, you know how the emergence of the first opera comes about when people are trying to speak the text as a play, and when they act it out, and eventually they thought, I think we should use our voice and to hold these words so that it is sung. And song is something. Song comes with this kind of motivation as well, to express what the text is talking about. We're gonna look at Schubert, right? Schubert has a friend who was very close to him, also sang a lot of his works. His name is Johann Vogel, a singer, and he once commented, he says that if you are not speaking to me, then you're not singing to me. Okay, so the importance of the text is actually very important in music as a whole, because why does the composer put text in it? Might as well just write a tune like Rachmaninoff's vocalist, right? Rachmaninoff's vocalist, just a tune, and then you can sing in any vowel that you like. But composers like Schubert treat text as a very important thing. And so today we're looking at German lieder, and so we have to look at German language. Okay, I'm not trying to teach diction in this class. It's not the purpose, but to give you an overview of what this language is about and what is special about this language. Everyone has some German who know that we have a lot of consonants, right? We have all those consonant clusters, and before you even sing. So German has this kind of very spicy kind of sound in the language. What is consonants, and what is very special in terms of similarity between German and English is that in English we also have quite a lot of consonants, not as much as German, but the kind of expression is very similar. So if you came to the last workshop, I talked about inflection of the language. English is a inflected language, as you know, because when you speak in English, a sentence, or if I'm trying to speak proper English, I don't English. See, when I try to speak English, I can just and you understand what I mean, but the Brits or the Americans won't understand. Because in English, we have what we call the stresses and the inflection, and where the climaxes are, where the bottom of the peak are of a sentence. And German works this way too. And how do we translate that to a piece, to the music, is that trying to keep what the core of the language is, which is an inflected language, putting it into the music, which means that if you see four quavers, you know that it has to be inflected. Okay. The very famous part I always like to use is from Allerseelen. Okay. In a phrase that I think in a phrase that says die letzten Rosen Asten Rat herbei. Die letzten Rosen, I don't remember, Asten Rat herbei. It's all in quavers. It's all in quavers. So when you sing that, you look at the rhythm, you say letzten Rosen Asten Rat herbei. No, you don't do that. Because the language goes, letzten Rosen Asten Rat herbei, right? It has an inflection. Die letzten Rosen Asten Rat herbei. And so, looking at that same rhythm, you get die letzten Rosen Asten Rat herbei. So see, that's how different it is when you look in the lenses of the language. And we'll have a lot of these examples for you today from all the pieces, I'm sure. So Schubert is a very special composer because if you list down German leader composers, right? You have before Schubert we have Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, Schubert, and then we have Schumann, Brahms, Liszt, Mahler, Strauss, Wagner, whatever. You will find that for Schubert, he is probably the only composer that has leader as his main genre. If you say Beethoven, you say piano sonata 32, piano sonata 4. You say 9. You won't say leader, right? If you say Schumann, he has a lot of piano works. He has a lot of leaders too, but the leader didn't come until 1840, which is what we call the year of songs. Brahms as well. You know, they write leader, but leader is not a very big part of their work. But for Schubert, it is a very big part of his work. He wrote more than 600 leaders. If you divide that into 32 years of his life, yeah, I think 32 years. 32 years of his life. He writes, how many? I cannot do that. 50 songs a year since year 1, that is. So it is quite crazy to see how he actually had this outpour of songs in his composition career, and we see that he has a lot of tools that he used that he used to show what the text is about. If we are talking about word painting, Schubert is not that kind of composer where, this is that one word that means loud, so he'll put a chord there to show that. He's not really that kind of composer. He's the kind of composer who expresses and a sort of overall sentiment of what you're trying to say. Well, the first song that we have, we're trying to explain the whole thing is about this father and the son riding the horse, and then the king is trying to catch out the son, right? And then the whole thing just keeps on going, and in fact, it's really so he has a lot of this kind of patterns that he writes, and for us musicians, we have to know, we have to try and figure out these tools at different points of the song, as Alex will tell you, because King, this song has how many characters? Four characters. Father, son, the King, and what? The horse. The narrator. So the person who is telling the story, and then you have the father, you have the son, you have the King, And do you notice anything different when the different characters are speaking or singing?
They stress on the syllables differently. So dynamics as well.
Yeah. How's the father like?
Father is very, let's say, it's more vowel-ish. Not so much consonants.
Yeah.
And he's more calm.
Right. So it's also at a lower range.
Yeah.
Right. And the kid is always being ranting, right? And then you notice that in the piano part. Oh, by the way, you all have the link, right? You can just look at the score and then the meaning, those things. If you look at the piano part, as I said, always have those repeated figures, repeated chords. And then every time the Erking speaks, the pattern changes. Okay? The first time the Erking is speaking, it changes to a different pattern. The second time the Erking is speaking, you know, always have a different texture for that. So yeah, so come let's perform this.
All right.
And let's see how Alex does. See if you can hear 4 different characters. Make sure you don't face me too much or okay, go too far forward. Okay. Sorry, come back to that. Cool. mein Vater, uns nicht, du nicht Gott, ein König von der Lameste Gott. Mein Sohn, ich sehe es genau, es scheinen die alten Weiden so blau. Die Schneeschneit seine schöne Gestalt, und bist du nicht wenig, so gar nicht bewahrt. Mein Vater, jetzt hast du mich an, wirklich nicht an, wie ein Last getan. In seinen Armen das Kind war tot. Good. Look at a few places. First time when a king speaks. Do you hear how his voice changed? Yes. This is a place where singers really like to use where because a king is saying you leave as a king. That evil can be really, you know, he even held some of the notes straight, you know, instead of vibratoing like usual. So I think that is really good. But I think you're anticipating the next thing too soon. What I mean is, see at the end of that looking section, right? Im Strand meiner Mutter, wait, hold on a bit. Manch bunte Blumen sind an dem Strand, meine Mutter, mein blühender Wald. You know, wait a minute, yeah. You don't need to sing loud. Oh, yeah, you're still irking. You're still irking. You're not the kid yet. The kid comes after that. Meine Mutter, mein blühender Wald. My father, that is the kid, you know. The changes of character has to be clearer. All right. And then before the next irking section, you jumped a whole bar. Blättern soll der Wind. 1, 2, 3, it's fine. Just a little bit after where we were just now. Okay. Sei ruhig, weil in den Blättern säuselt der Wind. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Plays directly.
This is the first version.
Okay, so you're using that version. We were talking about versions for Schubert. There are a lot of versions. For, I think the Forella itself has 5 versions or something like that. Sometimes he has a lot of those. Sometimes he'd be like, maybe I need another bar here, you know, and then he wrote something else. Yeah, okay, so that's a different thing. Cool. Yeah, just watch where the next character is, because you're anticipating where the next character comes in. At the last irking section, that one, I told you guys the accompaniment always change when the erking comes, right? But that one doesn't seem to change because when erking says ich liebe dich, piano is still doing that. So so it's kind of like it's kind of like erking is already getting into the kid's body or whatever. But make sure that you keep the pianissimo. It says PP, yeah. You started pianissimo as well, but you like crescendo so much. What is he saying here?
Saying I love you and you attract me.
And
if you don't come to me willingly, I'll force you.
yeah, exactly. And if you don't come to me, I'll force you. That kind of thing. Right. If you don't come willingly, you're already saying you are going to force him. Okay, so don't get loud there. Gewalt. Or you can just say Gewalt. Gewalt is loud. Okay. Well, because of that word. That word means force, right? Yeah. And after that, it's all good. It's all good. At the end, you should keep moving faster, right? Yeah. Vater groß ist reiter bestimmt den Armen. Yeah. Wow. Talk to your pianist first before you do that, because they're at the end of the song, and then this is very brutal. And you know the piano, the instrument, wasn't the piano at that time, right? It's what we call forte piano, which is if you don't know, it's an older version of the piano. All the strings are straight, so the sound is not as rich, and we certainly don't have the pedal. We have some sort of pedal, but it's actually here that we use our knees to control. And the key actions are easier. I played on a forte piano before, and so much easier because modern piano travels very deep into the keys, but the forte piano is very shallow, so it's very easy to do very fast running notes, and this one as well. So yeah, that was erking. Thank you, Alex. One of Schubert's earliest songs. Actually, I think this is always one, right? Yeah, always one. Okay. Did I miss anything? Okay. Next, we have another Schubert song, Fischer Weise. The fisherman's song, and if you know enough Schubert songs, you know that Schubert is obsessed with water. He's obsessed with water. He's obsessed with the river, the sea. You know, all those things with water lah. All those kind of and then everything is about water, and this one is very actually quite special, because if you look at the score, right, it's kind of like strophic song, but the third verse is a little bit different. Okay, sometimes Schubert has this kind of song, but sometimes it's all full-blown strophic song. Okay, exactly the same for 3 verses, 5 verses, 7 verses. We have one strophic song that comes up. True strophic song. This one is kind of like strophic song, but not really. So, but we do have repeats, right? Repeats of a section completely and also partially repeating the section. And when we are singing strophic songs, what we should pay attention to is the text. Why? Because when Schubert is setting a text, always those kind of poems that you have with the songs are with different verses, right? And it is a decision by Schubert every time he sees a poem and says that I'm going to set a strophic song because I'm just going to keep the tune the same, but the text is different. So what we do when we see strophic songs is we try to portray what the text is saying, because a poem doesn't just repeat its expression, its emotion, its meaning every single verse, right? They always have a high, a low, or it's expressing different things. So when we are seeing Schubert strophic songs, we pay attention to his markings for the first verse. But after that, you actually have the liberty to do something different. Okay? When he says piano to start, start softly, you don't just start with soft every single time. Okay? In fact, even for the piano part, it is different. I didn't plan this, but I want to show you a very famous strophic song that people always take as an example. Is the first song from his first song cycle, Die Schöne Müllerin, which is called, the song is called Das Wandern. I talked for so long, I still cannot find my score. Okay. Das Wandern has a few verses, basically talking about different things in nature. Okay. First verse, wandering, and then talking about the river, and then talking about the stone, talking about the wheel, the spinning wheel. So what people always do. So this is the main introduction of the song, right? Oops. And then the accompaniment that comes after that is pretty much the same. Okay. So do you want to hear this way of playing 5 times at the beginning of a song cycle recital, when the singer is trying to talk about different things? No. So when you see when the second verse, when they were talking about the water, you can do completely fine. And then you have the stone. The bass is heavier, so you're just showing that. And then after that, you have the spinning wheel. So maybe something like something different every time. And that's just the basic for what the pianist is doing. And for the singer, is actually more things that we can try to explore, because you're saying different words at a different time. So let's look at the visualizer. Fisherman is it's actually a very relaxing song, right? Fisherman is like happy-go-lucky, just go and fish. And the first verse, it says the fisherman is not bothered by anything, whatever. And then the second verse, he says he sings with full, vigorous heart. Okay. and this should tell you something different, because he says that he's singing out loud kind of thing. And of course you shouldn't go back to the second verse and sing it soft when you start, because he's saying I'm singing happily and with full vigorous heart, right? And so the second verse can be different. First of all, dynamically softer, louder, because of what the text is talking about. And then after that, at the third verse, he changes. The third verse is basically the same thing, except at 2 points. Those 2 points are when the fisherman is saying shower fished. Okay, he's expressing, he's not expressing, he's describing these people that don't understand what fishing is about, kind of thing. Shower fished 2 times. Schubert changed the melody. So those 2 times can be something that you bring out. Okay. Right. Let's do this. So something like.
Der Fischer will festen Sorgen und Gott reicht nicht an. Ist ein Frieden morgen, nicht leichten singen kann, nicht leichten singen kann. Da lagert sich noch Frieden auf Ort und Flut und Naht. Lobt mit seinen Lieden die Gottesfreunde nah. Lobt mit seinen Lieden die Gottesfreunde nah. Da lagert sich noch Frieden auf Ort und Flut und Naht. Lobt mit seinen Lieden die Gottesfreunde nah.
kind of accompaniments where the piano is trying to show some kind of movement. Especially true for everything that he's talking about river or whatever. Every time you have that kind of thing, at the end, try and ask the pianist not to slow down when Schubert says don't slow down. Because it's actually something quite different when you don't slow down. So if I play the last few bars, right? So you're actually still hearing the movement going. But if I do, okay, I'm not fishing anymore. I'm back. He's actually still on the sea and keep doing his thing. So yeah, good. So see ya. Auf in German, just like in English, glottal is an important thing, an important tool. Glottal is basically a consonant that is made by just your vocal fold tapping the sound. So you do that a lot in English. You say, if you want to say an apple, you say an apple, right? That is the glottal. An apple. You won't say an apple. An apple. People won't understand what you mean. So glottal is actually a very important tool in German, and sometimes we need to be clear about those. Die Auf nur deine Töne, especially when it is at the peak of the inflection of the sentence. Die Auf. Okay. Let's take other example. Well, just the Stoff wir ein Netz, that is fine. Doch wir ein Netz, because ein is not on the sort of stress of that sentence, so you don't actually need a glottal there. But the Stellen brauchst Augen klar und brauchst Augen. So that one you need. Brauchst Augen klar. Okay. And that will make the text clearer. And in German, as you'll find, every time you find words that sounds like what it means, okay. An example you have here, plätschend. Plätschend means splash. Okay, splash. The word splash is also kind of like that. It sounds like what it means, right? Plätschend. So when you have those words, really use those words. So things like in allen tiefen Laut und klatschen und klatschen. So really give your consonants some energy. Okay. And I think you don't have to observe that crescendo, which means you start soft and then you get louder, right? But plätschend, you splash, you don't start from small one, right? So I would just go straight to loud. Wie ein Hungerwimmer in allen tiefen Laut und plätschert durch den Himmel. Make that a change. Okay. Let's do this just a little bit. Gott wird ein Ungefähr in allen tiefen Laut und bleibt durch den Himmel, wie sich im Wasser baut. Und bleibt durch den Himmel, wie sich im Wasser baut. Yeah. So there is one change, because the first time but remember, you're doing something different for each verse, right? Remember the first verse you obey what is on the score. Okay, the first verse you follow what Schubert wrote. Okay, very nicely, and then after that you do different things because of what the text is saying. Okay, because the score that you get for a strophic song is kind of like basically just kind of like a template, and the specific things which are dynamics, articulation, slurs or whatever, those are specific for that first verse, and then you do whatever. Okay? Because Schubert, yeah, thank you. Joseph, because Schubert is a composer where, this is kind of sad, but he actually hasn't heard his songs performed live. He has never heard his songs performed live. Every time he writes his songs, he performed them. He called his friends, what we call the Schubert Theater. The friends will come to his house and then he says, oh, listen to some songs that I composed. So every time it's this kind of meeting. So he'll play and then he'll sing himself. Sometimes some other singers will sing his songs, but he won't be playing. And because also he was sick for a lot of years in his life, so he was basically just at home composing and just showing people what he has, but never really heard his things performed. What did I say that? Strophic songs, because strophic songs. So he wrote down for the first verse, and then he knows what to do now for the second, third, fourth, fifth verse, whatever. And then he also had singers who are very flexible and very sort of who likes to take decisions upon themselves, which sometimes Schubert didn't like. Last time when people perform Schubert, singers actually tend to add ornaments, tend to do this and that differently in his songs. But apparently he didn't really like that too much. But it was what happens. So when the singers sing a strophic song, they'll do something different. Okay.
And then I noticed that this class is very
yeah, very quiet.
But I have a question, so for strophic song, and if let's say this is 3 words, okay, but if let's say one plus one is many words, and how does the singer then prepares this different kind of expression? Because obviously they need to know the text right now, but then do they mark it, or do they highlight, or how do they prepare?
You're talking about technically how they put it down, write it down. Yeah, it is tricky. What I do is, because I use an iPad, I repeat all the pages.
Oh.
Just so that these few pages are just for first verse and then the second verse. Because if you write everything in there, then it's very confusing. Same thing for Mabel, Singoana Leader for Brahms, because every song has 2 parts. Every part repeats twice. I just photocopied everything double, and first verse there, and then second verse is the next page.
So the second one is highlight everything.
Yeah, easier. Some people need the highlighter to see the text, but some people don't need. It depends on how you how you work lah, basically.
But I suppose if someone already understands the text really well, maybe in the beginning, just to help you, then after that when you sing it, I think by right you should be naturally telling the story, because that's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also this challenge of rehearsing with the pianist about it. Every different verse is a different expression, but some of the basic things has to be laid out lah. For instance, the second verse has to be loud, so then make sure that the pianist don't play the song before you sing along. This kind of thing. Yeah. The next song is Ansilvia, because as in German, when it begins a word is the sound. This is a full strophic song, 3 verses. Interestingly, this is actually not a German text. It is from Shakespeare, which is who is Sylvia? Who is Sylvia? What is she for? That our saints command her. So basically, the first verse is introducing to this Sylvia, and then the second verse is describing her, how sweet, how beautiful was she, and then the third verse is so then let's crown her. Okay. So basically, yeah. So if I'm saying 3 sentences, what I just said, right? Hello everyone, this is Sylvia. She is so sweet, she's the best, she's the kindest person in the world. So then let's give her some present, that kind of thing. And so I think this is the general expression we need in this song. First verse, obviously we have that template that we have, and then second verse, maybe a bit sweeter, maybe start softer, to describe how Sylvia is. And then the third verse is like, come let's celebrate, right? Okay. Okay. No, maybe a bit slow, huh?
It's
words that really are spicy are always those words that have a few consonants. In German, yeah. So we want to hear the and you know when you sing, the vowel that the consonant that you use to express has to come before the beat. Okay, when you are saying the consonant on the beat, it's already too late. Okay, so just an example, yeah. Just an example, just like how this song is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, and then you have correct. Okay. Depending on the speed, this KR has to come something like here. You know, something like here, depending on the speed, but this vowel is here on the beat. Okay, so bum 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 bum, correct, correct. Okay, not already too late. Okay, so the consonants that you use has to come before that. Let's try that. Student before cancer. You know what I mean? Good. Let's try it again. Earlier, and then you can roll R, right? R. Cancer. Do you feel that? That's that kind of energy that goes before that. It's kind of like a conductor that goes like bam instead of bam, instead of like perfectly together. But you see, if you look at professional orchestras, they always play like slightly behind, bam, that kind of energy. So it's exactly the same thing. I also want to touch on. I touched this one. Good. So also try to explore different parts, not different parts, but different colors of your voice. Especially when you say should, is the should or something like that. Yes, is the should. The color can be something different in your voice. Just like when you speak anything, right? When you talk about something who's the most beautiful girl, who's the kindest person in the world, then your voice change, and that kind of change, I think it's really needed, especially for leader singing. Okay. Some people might say that, you are using a classical voice, so your classical voice has to be one voice and sing with that voice forever. But I really don't agree with that, because when you are singing, you have to have different color. First of all, because it is an instrument, even a piano, such as a very percussive instrument, have different colors. Well, let's don't talk about piano. Let's talk about marimba playing or timpani playing. Even that has different tones, different color, different kind of expression. But human voice is more than that, because it's not only an instrument, but it's an instrument that expresses text. So there are deeper things that you have to consider when you're singing. So yeah, I think we can definitely explore that in the one-to-one sessions, but this is just a general thing for everyone. Yeah, just make sure that your voice you do different things in your songs, especially in leader, because you are singing with the piano. You're not singing with the whole orchestra, which might potentially be too loud for you. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, we have now. We have two more Schubert songs, or we have a lot of Schubert songs. We have now the Lindenbaum. Very famous song, very different song from a lot of Schubert's song. Where does this song come from, Logan? Winterizer, which is his song cycle. Winterizer, although it is categorized, not categorized, but we treat that as his second song cycle of the three, but it's actually towards his death. It's like the final year or a year and a half he composed that. Some people think that Winterizer is a cycle that Schubert composes to sort of prepare his death. It is a very dark cycle. Okay. It has 24 songs in a cycle, and I think maybe 3 or 4 songs are in major. The others are all in minor. Okay, in all sentences. And even those that are in major are not actually happy. This one is in major, but the only reason it is in major is because of the tree, the linden tree, with something green color that he sees. Other than that, it's all snow, it's all black, it's all gray, you know. Yeah, and there's also another song later in the cycle called Frühlingstraum. The dream. It's in major, it's very beautiful, but it's a dream, just a dream. Yeah, so this cycle is one of the darkest songs of Schubert, and what is special about Lindenbaum is that we don't get those usual Schubert thing. What do I mean by usual Schubert thing is usually you listen to a Schubert song, you know what this song is generally about. You know, as I said, it's about the general sentiment. You have that, and then you have that kind of pattern. So that is the pattern, and then you have that is the pattern, and then you might get, and then that's the pattern of the song. But this one, oh, what's going on? And then when the singer comes in, it's nothing like that. So this song is very special because first of all, because of this musical reason, I think I just broke something. And what we have in the song are essentially two things. One is that kind of sort of like windy motif, and then when the singer is singing. If you are looking at the score, you will see that when the singer comes in, it is what I call a parallel texture. A parallel texture means that the texture of the voice is the same as the piano, meaning they are moving together. So this is the voice, this is the piano, whatever lah. Then the piano has this rhythm as well. Okay? As singers, you have to know every time you see this kind of thing. Usually what happens is the voice has a certain melody, and then the piano has some kind of accompaniment, which is normally having smaller notes than the singer, right? Like for Unsylvia, it's all quavers, and then you have the melody. But every time you see this is something special because they are moving together, and when this happens, as singers, you need to know that you are in charge because there's nothing else the piano can do other than following you. Okay, because you have text, and we talk about consonants has to come before the beat, right? So every time consonants has to come before the beat, and so basically the piano can just follow you in terms of where you're going. And that also means that you have all the freedom in the world to do whatever you want. This is a very dangerous statement. Not literally to do whatever you want, but means that you are flexible. You are more flexible than a song like "A King," where the piano has a motor going on underneath your singing. So as we talked about in German, it is an inflected language, and so this is the best time to use that tool. Okay, am ruhen vor dem Tor. So it's how you should speak it. Although it was still in rhythm, but not am ruhen vor dem Tor. Right? There's a difference there. Another song that has this, that is very clear that it has this is what you know, Liebst du Schönheit from Mahler's Rückert. The piano basically moves with you in parallel rhythm. Okay? Parallel rhythm, not parallel texture, sorry. Parallel rhythm, because the rhythm is the same. Yeah, so especially in German songs, in Italian, in English, not French, every time you see this, it's the time for you to be flexible and to basically speak the text. Okay. Great. So in the text, in the text, it's not just the narrator, right? Throughout the text, there are two sentences where the tree is speaking. Right? Come here, you'll find peace. That is when the tree is speaking. So trying to show us that the tree is actually speaking. Okay? Right. Let's do it.
musst auch heute wandeln, vorbei in tiefer Nacht. Da hab ich noch im Dunkel die Augen zugemacht und seines weite Rauschen aus Friedenshimmel zu. Komm her zu mir, Gesehene, hier findest du deine Ruhe. Die kalten Winden reißen mir grad in Herzes Lied. Der Mut kommt mir vom Kopf, ich wandle, ich Nun bin ich manche Stunde entfernt von jenem Grund und Himmel, wo ich rauschen, du feines Ruhetod. Nun bin ich manche Stunde entfernt von jenem Grund und Himmel, wo ich rauschen, du feines Ruhetod.
I don't know if you noticed this. I know that Logan, you're not a voice major, right? So really want to compliment you for doing this because it's not an easy thing to do. But I don't know if you noticed this. Although Logan is not a voice major, when he sings, you can hear all the consonants. It's a good thing, huh? He's like, is it bad? Yeah, so this is something that is really good. I think when you're building your voice up, you need to keep this. Okay? We really don't want to come to this path where we start singing by being very passionate about what we are singing about, and then as we develop our voice to be more beautiful, more nice, and then we lost the text. Okay, really don't let that slip away from you. All the top artists that you see have amazing voices, but when you listen to it clearly, you can actually see that they're actually trying to sing what they really mean, you know, what they're really trying to express in terms of the emotion, in terms of what the character is doing. It's really amazing. Yeah, good. I want to commend you on that. Now, that that inflection thing that we talked about because of the parallel rhythm, I'm not getting too much yet. I think you can do more. Can you just say this in rhythm? So first of all, without the rhythm, am brunnen vor dem Tor.
Am brunnen vor dem Tor.
Good. Am brunnen vor dem Tor. One more time.
Am brunnen vor dem Tor.
Good. Now put the rhythm in, but remember that sensation. Am brunnen vor dem Tor.
Am brunnen vor dem Tor.
Good. That's better. So which means that every time you have when I say inflection, that means that you have up and down, right? Where you have the important syllables, you have the unimportant syllables, and the unimportant syllables will tend to be less important rhythmically, which means it will be somewhat a little bit shorter. Am brunnen vor dem Tor. Da da da. You're a pianist, right? You know the fourth Beethoven piano concerto? Whatever. And I'm just trying to show you the repeated figures. Although it's repeated, it shouldn't. Right? You always learn that in piano, and things that are repeating, you don't play them the same kind of thing. But here we have more. We have the German text, and so be a little bit more flexible, and because you have to trust that I'm just following you. I have nothing. I have nothing in the score that tells me to give you any extra information other than at the end, das Liedlein Lindenbaum. This one, you know, just to make sure that coming basically that. But other than that, I'm totally with you, and so you need to try and feel the flexibility in that. Just start this. Your pianist, right? Can you accompany me? Just for this part. Yeah, this is what I mean. Do you feel that kind of vibrato there? Yeah, this is what I want to try to make you feel and do. Okay, good. Thank you. Just a little bit about German here. A is ow. When the A has two dots, it's oi. Okay. Ja is I is E. Okay. If you read IPA, does everyone knows IPA here? Does anyone don't know IPA? Okay, good. So don't confuse between EI, IE, and when you have dots when you're going to out. Okay. Quickly, last Schubert song. This one is very short. Der Tod und das Mädchen. The Death and the Maiden. So, okay, Elisa, what's the story?
There's a conversation between the maiden and the citizen, death.
Yeah.
So she's trying to beg the death go away, and then the citizen is telling her to, hey, I'm your friend, just embrace it and fall into my arms.
Yeah. So what happens at the end?
I think it has a lot of imagination. What I read is like a journey to, just accept what it happens,
Nice.
and it's not the worst thing actually in life.
Nice. Because what we call the death theme in this song is what starts the song. Okay. The singer doesn't sing anything about death. Everything is from the piano and it's in minor. And then at the end, when everything has been done, it's all in major. Yeah. So death, D major. It's really up to us how we think this ending. But I like that one. Just accept that this is the sort of cycle of life kind of thing. Okay. I always think that the beginning of this song, when the piano plays the first chord, is kind of like the spirit of death is coming in, like breath, like coming in through the slits of the door. It's like creeping in kind of thing. And I always try to find a way to play the first chord really soft. And I found out just now that I can actually do this on this piano. So hopefully it comes out that way. when you see a name and soprano, and then you have this song. This song is usually done by at least a mezzo, if not a contralto. A bass likes to do this as well, and also countertenors like to do this because they can just flip back to the chest voice and do the last low D. Cool. So it's a very schizophrenic song. Two characters. I think when you come in with the thought it was similar with what you had before. Und rühre mich nicht an. And then I'm hearing it's still the same thing. I think you can try and explore something different. And also it doesn't have to be loud at all. A total change. Don't decrescendo the last bit of main. Und rühre mich nicht an. Just to keep us having that impression of your voice, and then after that, then we hear something different. Okay. Again, I think it's the same thing as Alex, right? You're anticipating what comes after that, and so you are mixing your voice into that character, and we don't hear the change in character. Okay. So. At the end, you have to still wait, right, for the Zam after Zanft. So Zanft in my. Okay, good. Thank you. That's Schubert. We take a break for about 5 minutes. Then we'll come back and move on from Schubert. Okay, before that, there's one thing that you always find in Schubert's song is the appoggiatura. So you always find this kind of thing in Schubert, and for Schubert, what usually is the way to do it is to replace this note with the small note. So you're not doing this. You're not dividing them to da dum dum. You're replacing this note with da dum. Okay, it's usually how it's done in Schubert. I wish I can give you an example right now, but I cannot think on top of my head. But this is one thing that comes up for Schubert a lot. The pattern that you see is when you have two same notes, okay, two notes that are the same, and when the first note has this small little note, replace this note with that small little note, okay. Yeah, I cannot find an example, but maybe I will after the break. But we'll take a 5-minute break now. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come at 8:30 lah. 8:30. Okay, thank you.
you have any recommendation for IPA books specifically for German literature? Maybe one of the longest.
There's one that's called The Book of Leela by Richard Stokes.
Okay.
That one is really good. Oh, wait, hold on. IPA? You want the IPA?
IPA books.
IPA rules for German.
Yeah.
This is not exactly for German, but I've always used the David Adams one, the diction for singers, singers fiction. Wait, hold on. What is the title? It's just a very generic title. Like
By Jude Law.
no, John Wall. No. David Adams. Singers fiction or fiction for singers. You'll find it. He has 2 editions now.
Of fiction.
Yeah, David Adams.
Oh, this book.
Yes, it's quite a standard book. Or there is a book that has just came out maybe 1 year or 2 years ago, which is very, very new. That one is, I don't remember the title. The title is pretty cool. It has the title and then it has the IPA transcription of the title. Lance the Rhine is, I think, it's the last name. Lanzrei. Try and search that and type German diction or something. I think something like the book of German for singers or something like that. Anything?
The singers write the German fiction.
Yeah. Dark green one, right?
Dark green.
Yeah. That one is new. I haven't. That one is very, very detailed.
Really?
I think very detailed.
That's
We-
handbook.
Yeah. And then he has well, one thing that is very different that he does. At least one thing that I know of is the vowel R. In German, generally you don't need to differentiate between bright and dark. R is just R. But he does that. Yeah. I mean, sure. I think it's true in speech, but I don't think that we need to make that difference in singing. Because it's already so complicated in German. You have open E, A, and O, all those.
Oh my god. The last time I seen this was so long ago.
That's it. Now that further thinks that there's a dark R.
So German, we don't use that R, right?
No, but as I said, that's no he thinks that exists. That should be applied in singing.
Okay, the whole set of formulas, right? So
Yeah, but what is also cool about that book is he also has German Latin. Yeah. Not many people do German Latin now. Certainly not in the Not anywhere outside Vienna, Germany. Yeah. Because it's all the German rules apply to Latin. So Kyrie is that Kyrie. Oh, because Y is green in German. Kyrie. Eleison, Sanctus, not Sanctus, because S is Latin. Basically putting the German rules into Latin. And this will sound really weird. Cubonium. Cubonium to solus. Cubonium to solus, right?
And this is the dog in Vienna.
If they choose to do German, I think then they'll pronounce it this way. But even in Vienna, Germany, they are already doing the standard Roman Latin. Charity, are you still there?
Yes.
I can't see you because your icon is very small.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, just because it came out, I don't know how well you know German diction, but these are all the vowels in German. And you know, German always has a closed version and an open version, just like English. When you say W-I-L-L, you say will. Malaysians still say will, but W-I-L-L, the proper pronunciation is will, and W-H-E-E-L is we. So you have E and then you have A. Okay, so an open and closed version. So these are all the closed, open, E, A, U, O that applies in German. My idea of treating German diction is actually, let me say that again. It's not my idea, but I'm convinced by a diction coach called Nils Neubert that in singing we shouldn't be dividing all those vowels into so many. And these are the vowels that should just be treated the same. Okay. For example, in so when bin is that, even is that, okay? But in singing, they are too close to each other that you should just treat them the same. Same vowel. Bin, should just be the same vowel. And that takes away, well, that does two things. One is it makes your life easier. Second is you can actually trick yourself to do the correct vowel by thinking about the other vowel. What I mean is that some vowels are difficult for a certain a speaker of a certain language. For instance, this vowel for English speaker, they will just say a. They'll have a diphthong at the end. That shouldn't be the case, right? It's not a diphthong. So what you do when they're singing babe and you say the English word bid, BIN is this vowel. So they can actually relate to that and sing that vowel for the those in. Yeah, so just to bring this up.
This one applies for the sound, not the written part of it.
No, not the written part of it, of course. Because what we are trying to do in lyric fiction is how we sound acoustically. And acoustically you shouldn't differentiate that, because when you put it, well, maybe you should differentiate it if you're speaking, but when you're singing acoustically you should sing. Yeah. If the vowel chart is this big, right? When you speak a specific vowel is this much of the vowel chart that is highlighted. But when you sing, a particular vowel is a bigger area that is highlighted. So that you hear actually more colors of different vowels into a singing tone. And that's why I have this. Okay. Okay. Great. Let's move on from Schubert. Now we have Brahms. How should I approach this? Okay. After Schubert, because Schubert is such an important composer in Lieder, everything that comes after that kind of point back towards Schubert. And a lot of things Schubert has done in the genre of German Lieder has been, developed further by all these composers. The particular composers we have today are Brahms, Schumann, Mahler, and Strauss. Okay, so moving forward from Schubert, and also in terms of time frame, Schubert is kind of like between classical and romantic period. And now after Schubert is truly romantic period. Brahms, Schumann, true romantic composers, and you have that kind of harmonic language that they have, and a lot of flexibility, a lot of rubatos in the music. Mahler and Strauss too, but that's a different kind of thing. We'll talk about that. So we have two Brahms songs actually. Dein Blaues Auge, if you can find this. I just want to do actually the second bit. I don't want to do the whole thing because there's only one thing I want to find out for you guys. Yeah, second page, Esperanto mission. Okay, when we are looking at a composition of vocal music, we know that we have text, okay? And text comes from the poems that has lines, right? Usually it's 4 lines and then 1 verse, okay? And then, let me rub this in right again. Usually, but not always. You get this kind of structure, right? 1 line and then comma, 1 line, comma. Sometimes you might get another comma here. Sometimes you get an exclamation here or whatever. But the poem has its line and its sentence. Some poems doesn't even have that, which means that this final 2 should be 1 sentence, okay, as you speak, should be 1 sentence. But when they are composed into songs, one thing you have to pay attention is that musical phrasing might be different from this kind of phrasing, from text phrasing. So sometimes you might get, sometimes you get this kind of melody, but sometimes you get that, and then that you have a little rest in the middle. Sometimes you don't even get the rest here, and then you go straight to the second line, okay, or whatever. But do pay attention to that, especially for sentences that have not finished. Okay, in this one, in this one you see the first one, the second page. Esperanto mich ein guten Tag, noch Schmerz, noch Schmerz das Nachgefühl. But we have noch Schmerz, rest, das Nachgefühl. And then if you keep going, das deine Rest ist wie Sehnsucht. But it should be das deine ist wie Sehnsucht. So how you should treat those rests when you're singing is like when you're speaking. Like when you're speaking and then you run out of breath and you have to take a breath. Okay? When you haven't finished a sentence, you have a natural kind of lift before the next thing. You wouldn't say when I haven't finished a sentence, right? When I haven't finished a sentence. So it's kind of like the same thing. So let's try this section. Just so to see how we actually sustain that thought. Okay. Just choose this term, right? Esperanto.
There's no time my life lost spirits, lost of me, lost time, which is so now.
Good. The first one was better. The second one kind of like chopped out a bit. The longer the rest you get, the more difficult it is for you. Okay. Let's try that again. So, noch Schmerz, das noch. You don't even need the breath. I mean, if physically you need the breath, then take the breath. But noch Schmerz, das noch. Your thought is still going. And then after that, das deine ist wie sich. Yeah. So that you don't sing das deine ist wie sich. You don't cut the one sentence. Okay. So simply.
There's no time my life lost spirits, lost of
Good. Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, you say the wrong words. That's the idea. So you'll find that a lot after Schubert. You also find it occasionally in Schubert, especially in strophic songs, because strophic songs, every time the poet repeats, every time the poet writes a different verse, you always get different punctuations. But when you have the same tune, sometimes you have this kind of thing that happens in Ansylvia as well. You have some of those carrying over. Is it the second verse or something like that? It should carry over to tone, then comma or cloud. That kind of example. So yeah, good. Thank you. And the other Brahms song is very special because it is not what we always think of leader as. Sometimes we think leader as something very serious, we express our love, we sing to God or whatever. But this one is from the gypsy songs. Okay, we call it the Zigeuner Lieder, the gypsy songs, which are the songs that are sung by gypsies. Think Carmen. Okay, you don't get elegance in Carmen. in the character Carmina of the opera. So for a gypsy song, then the possibility is even more, especially when the composer says repeat every section, kind of thing. Good. Sorry, go. Good. Good. He did write an OCR, right? That you can.
Yeah, I chose not to.
Oh, you chose not to. Why?
Is it comfortable? You don't want to be. Sorry. But I think.
Yeah, I think.
I use the higher one.
Yeah, I think you should use the high one for the second time, just so
I
that.
can do that actually. Like first time I do the lower one.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Didn't we say strophic song you can change things at the second time? And also, especially this one is gypsy songs. The gypsies like to follow rules. Exactly. You can even do things like maybe this one doesn't suit that well, but certainly other songs. But this one you can do something like, after the first time. So you actually start slower and then go. Yeah, and then pick up the tempo. So those are things that you can do. And for the pianist as well, maybe the first time at the last page, second system, and maybe the second time you can do something like okay, so maybe you can take a breath before Su. Sorry, it's easy after scramble. So you ignore the rest and you can change the phrasing. You can definitely also already do that for Schubert strophic songs, but definitely for gypsy songs. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to throw this song out for everyone to see, because it is Lieder is not just everything very serious. Brahms also wrote some folk songs that you can try and take a listen to. They are very different, and of course folk songs are sung by people in the kampong. So it's not like very intelligent kind of thing where you have to follow everything. In terms of looking at the music, and also in terms of how you sing. Okay, good, thank you. Good, thank you. I just don't know if you want to just stay here, because the next you're singing the next song. Next we have Schumann. This is a song from one of his cycles. So Schumann is a composer who composed quite a number of song cycles. Things that you know very well probably is Dichterliebe. He also wrote two other song cycles that are called song cycles. Song cycle opus 39 and song cycle opus 24. Leader Christ. Leader Christ. Christ. A ring, a ring. Song cycle. So yeah, for Schumann, he does something, and of course this song cycle, Frauenliebe und Leben, the women's love and life. And for Schumann, one of the things that he does differently from Schubert, in terms of its development, is the connection between songs. If you look at Dichterliebe, German. Okay, Dichterliebe has 16 songs, but most of the songs in Dichterliebe cannot be performed by itself. Whereas for Schubert, you can still perform them in isolation, just because they are complete songs. Although when you perform those songs in isolation, sometimes it might feel weird because it's not part of the story, but still musically it is a piece at its own. The first song from Dichterliebe, if you've gone through music theory or something like that, definitely in analysis you learn this song, the first song. And this song ends. Do we have a key? Do we have a cadence? We don't have a cadence because the next song comes. And then we have things like things that continues to the next key kind of thing. What is that? Finishing time. Yeah. So there's a key relation, and then the next song goes to from 5 to 1 kind of thing. He does a lot of that. We were talking about key relations because Mabel likes this song in F major. Right? You told me it sits better in your voice, right? Really?
Not really.
Oh, E flat better?
In some sense, yeah.
Okay.
I'm used to that really.
Yeah. So there is a choice of forming it in F or E flat. Originally it's E flat. Originally it's E flat, and the E flat comes after the song before, which is C major, which is quite a nice modulation because the G of C major, this G, becomes the third note of the E flat major scale. But if you do it in F, then you're taking the La of do re mi fa sol la of the key. So it doesn't actually sound that bad for me. It still has some kind of relationship. And then the next question is what comes after that. So in the original key after the E flat, we go to B flat major. That's the original key. There's no dispute. You don't have to change anything. But what about F going into the next key? It's F major, and then I feel that it's fine. song to F, if you like. Yes. Now, only the songs, those examples that I show you for each deliver that has some sort of chord that goes into that song. Only those songs has to be, if you want to transpose them together. And generally in digital legal, people still do different keys. People change the first. I'm talking about original key. Original key is for high voice to the baritone key. Normally people transpose the first few songs one major second down, one whole tone down, and then song number 7 goes back to the original key, and then after that is a minor third down for this deliver. And I think for Schumann, for Brown lever, you can agree with that. So you want to do an F or E flat now? No, I can do E flat if you want. Can I play both? Let's do E flat now. So you see Schumann, you were now totally in romantic period, and then everything you hear should be very, very romantic, very flexible, which I think you did. But I think you can do more, because sometimes you're a little bit worried if I'm gonna not give you enough time to breathe, but the pianist should, because First of all, this song is not so slow that the pianist doesn't have to do anything. Second of all, it is a romantic song, and I think we should take more liberty in things like you know, and what happens for a romantic period? You steal some time, you give it back after that. Yeah, you take some time, and then you give it back. Yeah. And this is a very important texture I want to bring out. Not texture, I keep saying texture, rhythm. With the voice and the piano. So let's take that. Okay, taking a breath here. And then the piano, whatever. Let's do that, and then let's just do that. Okay, so the singer is taking a breath here, and the piano has things that is going on. In this case, what the pianist has to do, and the things that you have to ask the pianist to do is to breathe. First of all, breathe with you, but here. Here, not here. Not after the whole value of the note. Okay? It's after the first thing of that note. Because if the pianist is breathing at the end of that beat, what you will find is you both will kind of like sitting in the car together and then break and then go again. Okay, there's no like flow in it. Let's show you one of that. Let's just take that thing. Drücke from the lippen, and then take your time to breathe that. Yeah. So I'm going to do 2 different things. I'm going to do the wrong one first. You hear that? So if you minus the voice, okay. Now I'm going to do the right one. You hear that? It actually flows better. So it actually flows better this way. So when you have this kind of situation, tell the parents to do that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Miguel.
It only works for a romantic period.
No, it works for any period, as long as the singer doesn't have enough time to complete the breath in time. Okay, if the singer has, if this thing is like super slow and then the singer has enough time to take the breath before the next thing, then you're fine. The pianist doesn't have to do anything. Okay. So things like da 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 da, you need time to breathe. So that's the situation when the pianist has to do that. Okay. Great. So we have 2 more songs. We have Mahler and Strauss. Mahler and Strauss are special. Mahler is a composer that actually writes quite a number of songs. But when we think Mahler, we actually think orchestra. Yeah. He wrote a lot of songs, but a lot of songs are for the orchestra. So one thing that is different will be the balance. Another thing that will be different is the flexibility of the whole of how the song should go. But that said, when the songs are written, or when the songs are performed by the piano and voice, you should be quite flexible in that. I talked about Li Feng Shun Hai, which you has sung. That one can be very flexible, but when you're singing that with the orchestra, then you have to rehearse more. Also, you are less free to do things. So what I mean is that instead of when you're doing that with a piano, you can actually do and go into the word sh. Yeah. So there is this kind of consideration when you do that. And another consideration is the sound that comes out of the piano. It's the same as when you're singing opera arias. The sound that comes out of the piano, you should imagine the orchestra, because it's originally the orchestra that is playing. Okay, so for this song, this is Mitternacht, the longest song in that cycle. Well, yeah, still the longest after Ich bin der Welt. But this one is very special because in the original orchestra composition, you don't actually see that a lot in any orchestra performance where all the strings are actually chilling for the whole song. Because for the whole song, only the winds are playing, only the woodwinds and the brass are playing. So it has something really. It is some kind of very special quality. Okay, I'm not gonna play it. Just if you're interested, go and listen to the orchestra version, and then you see what I mean. Listen to the song before that, where the whole orchestra plays, and then this one. Because in this song, the guy or the girl is saying that he has no hope. He cannot rely on himself anymore. You know, just when I look at the stars don't talk to me. When I look into the sky, there is nothing bright. You know, that I cannot see light. You know, this kind of thing. So the whole orchestration is very interesting and very transparent. It's very only what the clarinet starts. I think only 2 clarinets starts the whole piece, and you only hear very small little bits until the person says, "I'm gonna hand everything to you, go on." Then the whole texture change. Okay, that's this.
Oh,
Yeah, so at the end, that's the first time you hear the trumpet comes up. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, it's quite an amazing song, I have to say. And it's not an easy song to sing, that's for sure. I think you need to. One thing that will move your performance forward is to use your consonants method. Let's go from the beginning, right? Und auf. You know, those consonants has to be in the music. Hab ich gewacht und aufgeblickt zum Himmel. Yeah, especially this kind of song where it's so bad, it's so slow. You need to make sure that your text is still very clear out there. Okay? If not we kind of zone out because of how this kind of piece can only go one or the other way. Can only be either you really attract the audience, like really into listen to you, or they just be like, you know, zoning out. It's the same with Ich bin der Welt as well. So this cycle is something really, really special. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, we have the lady in the laptop. Hi, Charity.
Hi.
Maybe talk a bit louder or something. Whoa. So this is drums, okay? What is the what do you think when you see the name Strauss, Johann Strauss? What kind of piano music, orchestra leader? Okay, fine, yeah, but opera, Rosenkavalier, Capriccio, Ariadne of Naxos. Are the operas that we don't normally hear in this part of the world, but are operas that are very, very important in the category of German operas. Okay, Strauss's opera, and so Strauss and Wagner, okay, the two titans of German opera. And so Strauss's songs are. It is very interesting because on one hand it's actually quite nice to be played on the piano, and it's very. As a pianist, I can say that when I play Strauss song, okay, they're difficult, but they're pianistic. Okay, there are composers where they also write for orchestra, and then when you play the piano part, it's like, what is this? But not the case for Strauss. But on the other hand, they are for orchestra. A lot of his songs are orchestrated for orchestra, including Ständchen. And I think it is something very, very special about Strauss' Lieder. And one thing I want to point out is that sometimes when he when he transcribed his songs for orchestra, he changed something. Sometimes he changes something, sometimes he does not. But sometimes there are differences in the piano and the orchestra version that we have to pay attention to and decide on what to do. I want to wait. Cannot see her. She's like so small on top. I want to pin her.
Yeah, we can.
Head pin. Like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, speaker. Can you try saying something, Charity?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, actually, if we do speaker, she should appear by herself. Yeah. So do not do this.
But she's gonna sing this song for us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You try, Charity.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. All right. Do you want to sing it with the track? Because I can definitely not play for you because it will be a delay. And then everyone here we can only hear them. Yeah. Okay.
Wait for a while. Is it okay? The sound?
Yes.
Mach auf, noch leise, mein Kind, um keiner vom Schlummer zu wecken. Komm, Blume der Nacht, komm, zitter sie Winterbrand an den Wäldern und Hecken.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing I think you did, well, it certainly came out and sounded like you did, was the second time you say 放于不离我们就会分, because on the score, form is actually on the beat. Oh, sorry. 于不离我们就会分. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I think you were doing 于不离 right? You are putting the yu on the beat. So you are doing the F, from yu. Know what I mean? I think that's a good adjustment to this, because in the orchestra version, he actually changed that. Okay. And it also makes sense textually. Über die Blumen zu hüpfen, über, no, über die Blumen. So it's nice to change that. And then for you, for information at the end, your high B flat, right? For the high B flat, normally people actually hold it double the length, because in the orchestra version it is double the length. It's a B flat, don't you enjoy it? They sing a B flat as a soprano. Mabel was saying what loud, but in terms of what the pianist should do, sometimes pianists repeat that bar, which sounds like, which I really don't like, because it's like it should come down, but then you go up again. One choice for the pianist to do is to finish that whole thing and then pause. So ho lun, and then ho lun, form, then form, then you carry on. So essentially you're extending that bar to an extra bar of rest for the piano. But yeah, I think you're singing quite well. One thing that I think you can improve on is the sparkle from this song. You know, mach auf. It's you are actually quite excited, right? So so show that in the singing. Don't worry about, you know, mach auf. Make sure that the notes sound or whatever. Mach auf. And this vowel, you probably won't be able to see, but mach is a kind of vowel in German that is short, a short vowel, because of the ch, it is short, so it's not mach, it's mach auf. So yeah, so you should actually put your attention to auf, mach auf, yeah, to create that kind of expression. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good, 5 minutes early. For Friday, you can decide. Okay, so what I intend to do is all the Fridays are for coachings, right? You can decide after the Monday sessions what you want to do. Okay, so after the Monday sessions, if you think that you want to do your leader again, or whatever that we do on Monday, then you can decide to do. Or you want to bring in something different for Friday, then you bring in something different. But generally, I would expect you to tell me what you want to work on by Tuesday night. Okay, for Friday. And I'll ask you for score if I don't have a score, and so on. We will liaise one-to-one. Yeah.
Sorry, I think this Friday 2 of us will be here.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, if you want earlier, you can, because you don't need to wait until so late.
What time?
My time is 7.
I don't remember the time.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. So you can come 7 p.m. if you want. Your time is
Because they have caroling.
can come 7 or 8:30.
You have what? Caroling?
You can't.
Online caroling. What time do you use it?
Another one also.
Oh, you also?
We need to reach there at least 5 p.m. Then he also can.
Now, like,
Why you will arrange that? You already know this.
then we can.
You want to
push that
schedule to another day.
Yeah, push that to another week or something.
This is the one that the advertised in the forest group one.
Caroling?
Caroling,
I don't know. Hey, caroling or not?
it's a hotel.
Okay. Yeah. So let me know Tuesday night for the Friday.
So Friday is you 3 of you will come.
So this Friday, 3 of you can come.
Is it just the night or
Just the night.
then do you want to arrange
Earlier that day?
time?
Earlier that day?
Yeah.
So that we
You are free.
so that we just do
Because
that
you guys have the tree.
same day.
You can arrange for them the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you guys from the back you move up.
What time
Just move up back to the before the first one. Before the first one, then you move 45 minutes.
That's why it's 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Yeah, so 2:15, 1:30,
So you can start
and
from 1:45, 2:30.
12:45, 1:30, 2:15. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I find it very interesting in the sense that you may be working on a different piece, but like today you kind of listen to all different kind of pieces from different composers and the romantic period and Schubert and things like that. So okay, I want to just remind you all that I said a taboo word today. I said class. There's no class. Huh? There's no class. Okay. This is a training program. Okay, so it's to help you guys, to become better performers, become better singers in the future. So it's up to you how you want to learn, right? It's up to you how whether you want to take notes or not, and whether you understand or not. And so I would urge you all to, if you don't understand, ask question, and then you have to prove. If you cannot think of any question now, and later tonight you have something that pops up, by all means, just message the group, and I'm sure she will be happy to answer, right? Okay, use this as an opportunity to train and to improve yourself.
Yeah, if you don't know anything, just ask. Okay. I'm very happy to say I don't know if I don't know. Okay, don't feel that. Don't know if you know something.
Okay, also I would like maybe you guys to some extent self-register yourself. Like if you have a engagement, you should have let us know earlier, right? Okay, so then you all can talk to Vernon and see how you can do your thing. Yeah, you all are big boys and big girls.
Still very young.
Still very young. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Okay, please be careful when you drive, guys.
Even after. Okay. Okay.
是啊，走完了之后。
You come together. Oh, okay.
喂，
哦，
我都没有那个。
哦，你在哪？
这个是给我问下去。Of the group. Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Say bye-bye to her.
Bye, Charity. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
See you soon. Okay, I've just recorded it. So, stop. All right.
Bye-bye.